They laughed at her dress, a $47 clearance rack dress, worn on the most important day of her life. They mocked her skin, her hair, her very existence, dismissing her as nothing more than the help. But while they were laughing, she was counting down the seconds, because in just 7 minutes their billion-dollar empire would begin to crumble. This isn't just a story about cruelty at a wedding. It's about revenge, justice, and a secret 3 years in the making. The question is, how did one woman turn their racism into their ruin? Jasmine Baptiste was 26, living a life that never gave her a break. By day, she worked the checkout line at Target, her red vest and tired smile hiding the weight she carried. At night, she tutored neighborhood kids, and on weekends, she catered weddings she could never afford for herself. Every dollar went toward her mother's chemo treatments. Every hour she worked was survival, not choice. To the outside world, she was just another young black woman struggling to make ends meet. But beneath that struggle was a storm. Because what no one saw was that Jasmine had been carrying a secret for years, one that tied her family's pain to one of the most powerful names in business. And soon that secret would collide with her future in the most unthinkable way. From the outside, Ethan Morrison looked like a dream, wealthy, charming, the kind of man who could sweep anyone off their feet. But behind the smiles and polished dinners was a family that treated Jasmine as less than human. The first time she stepped into their mansion, Catherine Morrison's eyes scanned her like a stain that needed scrubbing. Every question was a dagger wrapped in polite words. Where are you really from? Do people in your neighborhood even finish college? David, the patriarch, didn't bother hiding his disgust. The moment Jasmine mentioned she worked at Target, he spat out his wine and muttered, "Our son can't be serious." Laughter followed her like a shadow at every dinner. It wasn't just words. It was the way Catherine insisted Jasmine fix her hair for photos. The way designers whispered that darker skin needed special lighting. The way they treated her as a project to be reshaped into something acceptable. Each insult cut deeper, but Jasmine endured. Not because she was weak, but because she had a plan. For every comment about her problem body, for every time they called her ghetto, she took mental notes. And behind her quiet smile, she was building something much bigger than their cruelty. What they didn't know was that years earlier, Jasmine had uncovered the truth. Her father, William Baptiste, wasn't just a victim of a robbery gone wrong. He had been murdered. And the man who benefited most was David Morrison. The tech empire the Morrisons flaunted was built on her father's stolen work. To them, Jasmine was just a poor black woman clinging to their son. But in reality, she was the storm they never saw coming. The more they mocked her, the stronger her resolve grew. While Ethan thought she needed saving, she was quietly sharpening her weapons, learning coding late at night, filing patents under a hidden name, aligning herself with Morrison Technology's fiercest rival. Every cruel word only fueled her mission, and when the Morrison family began to drown in debt, desperate for a bailout, they had no idea the only person who could save them was the woman they had humiliated at every turn. The stage was set, the countdown had begun, and Jasmine was about to turn their racism into their ruin. The reception hall glittered with champagne glasses and flashing cameras, but for Jasmine, it felt like a battlefield. Catherine took the microphone, her voice dripping with cruelty. Look at her dress, Target clearance rack. Laughter exploded. Someone shouted she probably didn't even have $500 to her name. And then David, drunk and unfiltered, cut deeper. Some women spread their legs for a meal. This one did it for a meal ticket. The room howled. Every insult magnified under the bright lights. Even Ethan, the man who had vowed to love her, just stood there smiling. But while they mocked her, Jasmine's bouquet buzzed with the vibration of a hidden phone. A single message flashed across the screen. Ready when you are. Morrison board is waiting for final approval. She glanced at the clock. 7 minutes. The fate of their empire balanced on her choice. Her chest tightened. For years, she had carried the weight of her father's murder, the humiliation of being told she wasn't enough, the endless reminders that her skin, her body, her existence didn't belong. And now, in the very moment they expected her to break, she felt a surge of power unlike anything she'd ever known. She rose from her chair, the room quieting in confusion. All eyes locked on her. With the microphone in hand and the bouquet still clutched tight, she knew the moment had come. Everything, the years of silence, the cruelty, the stolen legacy, led to this. The countdown ticked toward 0 and Jasmine finally spoke. You were right about the dress, but you were wrong about me. The silence after her words was deafening. Within minutes, the Morrison board rescinded its partnership, their billion-dollar deal collapsing like a house of cards. Catherine's smirk vanished. David's arrogance dissolved, and Ethan, once so proud to stand beside her, looked suddenly very small. For Jasmine, it wasn't just revenge, it was justice. Justice for her father's stolen life. Justice for every room she was told she didn't belong in. Justice for every woman of color who had been mocked, silenced, or dismissed. The scars remained. No public victory could erase the years of humiliation or the ache of absence. Jasmine walked out of that glittering hall alone, but freer than she had ever felt. She hadn't just ended a deal, she had ended a cycle. Here's the truth. Jasmine's story isn't only hers. It echoes through boardrooms, classrooms, neighborhoods, and homes across the world. Every day, people are judged, excluded, or broken down, for who they are, but for the color of their skin. The question is, how many more Jasmines will it take before the mocking stops? Or silence turns into change? As while Jasmine destroyed a $950 million empire in 7 minutes, the cost of racism is far greater. Destroys trust, steals futures, leaves wounds that money can never heal. Next time you see someone being dismissed, mocked, or written off, remember Jasmine's choice. Stood tall when the world wanted her small, would you?